Hello and welcome to the e-commerce sales tax podcast. My name is Ryan Johnson and I got Dan Peisner with me today. Dan, how's it going?
It's going well, Ryan.
So we got some great stuff to talk about today. I'm excited to talk about it because, states are starting to open up again. We're starting to see a little bit more normalcy, and I, for one, am really excited about that.
Me too. Me too. It's certainly nice to see a little bit of normalcy creeping back in.
Yes. So I wanted to kind of talk about with states opening back up, and we recently posted a blog on our website, and you'll see the link down below. It's just kind of how states are going to react and what to expect in a way. After the pandemic and states opening back up, we know that a few states are really hurting for revenue. And so I kind of want to talk to you kind of what you're seeing in your part of the business and what people can expect going into the future here, near future even.
Well, I certainly the the compounding factors of increased unemployment and just businesses being closed, meaning sales tax revenues are way down. A number of states are definitely impacted, and given the circumstances, you can't really raise taxes right now. It's certainly that's not going to fly. So what the states will traditionally do in these times is they will try to tighten up their tax collection, and in some cases reinterpret existing laws, which is not the same as passing a new tax. So what we expect to see, and what we are seeing to a degree, is increased audits, increased different types of businesses being audited, and then on those audits, the auditors being a touch more aggressive, going after certain issues. And for in the realm of remote sellers and e-commerce, what we've been seeing recently is first off, we're seeing an increasing number of audits. Previously, the states were focused on finding them and getting them registered, getting them collecting, hitting them for 6 or 7 years worth of back tax with your requisite penalties and interest. Now that a lot of people are registered, the states are starting to look for where they may have rushed to get registered and might be doing a few things wrong. And we're seeing some of the things we're seeing are systemic. A lot of these e-commerce systems were built for the commerce part, not the tax part, and some of them are just the nature of the business. I'd say one of the biggest issues we're running into is when you get audited, the state's going to want to look at every platform that sells into the state, and that means pulling up. They'll want your Amazon records, they'll want your Etsy records, they'll want your Walmart records, they'll want your eBay records. And one of the problems that we're starting to see is eBay, typically we're finding they don't keep sales records past about 90 days.
Oh,
So when that sales tax auditor asks for 4 years worth of records or 3 years worth of records, however long you've been registered, you've got a little bit of a problem. And hopefully you've been downloading them and have them available for in your files and as backup behind the tax returns you've been filing each month. But if you don't, then that can be a very large problem on audit. We're managing that with a few clients right now.
would the state just take a sample of what they have on file and then go back a ways, go back a couple years? I mean, what do they usually do about that?
It depends on, for example, I've got one example that I've been dealing with that with where the eBay was a very, very small percentage of overall sales. And as a result, since we can account for the other sales using better records, then there's only so far the state can extrapolate on that. That one may not be a big issue, but if eBay is a large or a majority part of your sales, then absolutely you've got to be downloading and maintaining those files each month, or you're going to run into a big problem at audit time. And that's a surprise a lot of our clients have been finding as they've been going through this process, is is that some of these companies don't keep great records. Or the other thing to keep in mind is when you get each one of these companies has their own record retention policy. Unless they typically won't hold records past their retention policy unless legal issues arise. So the first thing that you may want to do on audit is go and start pulling those records for the state. One of the first things they'll do on an audit is tell you what the tax period is going to be. So the first thing, go on and start pulling those sales records, because the last thing you want to find is get around to doing that after, a couple delays and you've been busy here and tied up there, and you're missing several months because the system's just not retaining them any longer.
Yikes. I could see that being very stressful. You're doing business, all of a sudden you got an audit and you realize you don't have your records anywhere.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Are you seeing anything that, with, the states are probably getting really into the details, the nitty gritty, and, do you see companies having issues with their tax rates?
What we are seeing is some of the states that are a little more complicated on the tax rates. To give an example, Illinois seems to be auditing a lot of people right now, a lot of e-commerce sellers, because Illinois is kind of and this is being phased out, but in the past they had a separate tax rate for the sales tax and the use tax. Mm-hmm. Normally, sales and use are considered interchangeable by a lot of people. The rates are the same in most of the states. Illinois is one of the exceptions. And what that means is that if you are doing intra-state business, so you're selling from an Illinois location to an Illinois location, the state considers that the retailer's occupation tax, which is their version of the sales tax, is due, and it's based on where your origin is, where you're located. So you would collect tax at your local rate. In the event that you are selling to that it's an interstate sale and you're selling from out of state into Illinois, then in that case it's use tax, which is at the lower 6.25% state rate. And so as a result, you can end up with two very different rates collected. The sales tax rate in Illinois can range anywhere from 6.25% just the state to, I want to say, 10 and change for Chicago. So you've got some pretty big differences there. And where that impacts e-commerce sellers is anybody that has a fulfillment center in Illinois, that's considered an Illinois source sale. So you get into some sourcing issues there. And that can mean, in the case of Amazon, that can mean any of the sales that are shipped from their fulfillment center, that the state wants to take a look at it and make sure that they're collecting the right rate. And spoiler alert, Amazon usually is. Their software seems to know the difference. It's just it can mean a lot of record pulling and a lot of extra documentation, and it's just something to keep an eye out for and be ready to not only to pull down, but into a lot of cases educate your auditor. And that's kind of a third point to mention. A lot of these auditors are doing their first e-commerce audit. We find a lot of these auditors are used to auditing your traditional business. They'll want to see sales invoices. They'll want to see purchase invoices. The latter oftentimes doesn't make sense if you don't actually have any expenses or fixed assets in their state. So you've got to educate them. They also want to see a sales invoice where there isn't going to be one. So there's a lot of, you can ultimately get them what they need to make their determinations. You just have to educate them on what's available and how to get there.
That's interesting. And that could be confusing if you've never been under audit either. So you don't know what to give the auditor. Auditor doesn't know what to, not exactly sure what they're requesting.
Certainly. When you're getting audited, you're expecting that they're going to be the expert and that they're going to kind of guide you through it in some instances, and hopefully not. not be too adversarial. But in the case of some of these e-commerce businesses, a lot of times we're seeing that these auditors just are not experts in that type of business. They haven't done a lot of those audits. So they'll ask for the everything in the kitchen sink like they usually do. And you have to explain, no, these records are not available. I know what you're looking for. This doesn't actually help you. And if I give you this, it's going to be completely worthless because it can't tie it back anyway. This is really the data stream you want to use directly from Amazon, or this is, and one of the best examples I can give of this is any audit. One of the first things the state will do is look at the sales tax payable account. What the state wants to make sure is that every dollar that you collected in sales tax that you turned around and handed to the state, that you're not pocketing their money. And a lot of clients, when they get their feed from Amazon, they just journal a lump sum into their books for that, and they may or may not even break it down by state. And an auditor cannot tie that. Normally, they want a transaction level detail in that account, and they can't tie it. What you have to do is steer them away from that and steer them directly to the data feeds from Amazon, from eBay, from Etsy, that show the tax that they collected, since they're the payment agent, the tax they collected on each transaction and that they sent over to you in the wire. And that's how that you can tie that out and figure out if the tax has really been collected. But if the auditor doesn't know that, they're going to try to go to the sales tax payable account and they're going to get lost. And a lost auditor is a very expensive auditor.
I can imagine. So Dan, at what part of the process can you help at?
Well, we can help at any part of the process. And what I always try to tell my clients is when you're dealing with an audit, it's completely up to your availability and comfort level. I've got clients that I can put them, I put them on with the auditor. They know their business backwards and forwards. They can fight aggressively, and they beat them down. They'll get down to one or two technical issues that they're just not sure about, and then they bring us in specifically for those. And we're happy doing that. We've got other clients that they don't have the time, the bandwidth. If they don't have they may not have the expertise, and it may be a little more complicated, and they're happier if we just take over the whole process, so right from the start. And we're happy to do that as well. And we're happy to, at the start of, we're happy to have a call with you, talk it out, walk through, look at the business, any potential red flags, and then just get an idea. If low risk, tell you to give it a shot, and if you run into problems, give us a call. Or if we see a lot of issues, it may be worth bringing us in from the beginning and letting us represent you throughout the process, so that there's not really any surprises.
Yeah, and I think kind of the call you're referring to is the what's next call, which is available to anybody, and for free. It's kind of a free, no sale consultation call in a way, as we try to help you evaluate your situation and how we could potentially help, or help you evaluate whether or not you can take it on yourself. Yeah, if you guys would like to get on a call with Dan, usually, if you guys are going under audit, or maybe you're thinking that you may go under audit soon, or you may have other issues, you can go ahead and sign up for that, and the link is down below. Dan, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
My pleasure, Ryan.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I think the only other thing to add is if you do get under audit, take a deep breath, relax, take it step by step. Really just take it very easily, very carefully. And if you really do find yourself getting into a spot with the auditor, we're here for you.
Wise words, Dan. All right, thank you again so much, and hope to see you on another one.
Thank you.